Testing. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to introduce the clone stamp tool right here and also the spot healing brush tool. These are very useful tools to either get rid of certain items in your image or duplicate certain items or objects in your image. So let's just take a look at the example that we're going to use today. Here's the original photo, and with the clone stamp tool and the spot healing brush tool, you can take things off as if they never appeared, and it's relatively easy. So if we take a look at the after photo, you can see that I cloned out the cans and replaced it with grass, and I did the spot healing brush with the T to get rid of the T. So it's a great way to remove things, but you can also clone things too. If I wanted another can somewhere else, what I did is I used the clone stamp tool and I cloned the can and placed a duplicate copy, the clone of it, somewhere else, which is right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to get started with this. And the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to work on the clone stamp tool. And what we want to do is we want to use the clone stamp tool to take out this string in these cans. So I'm going to press Z and I am going to zoom in. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my clone stamp tool, which is this one right here. And what you do is you have to be on the original layer or whatever layer you want to clone from. And I want you to double click and just unlock that for now. And what we're going to do is we are going to clone out, let's start out by cloning this can. So what you can do is if you hold down Alt, you see it transition to a target sign. That means I'm holding down Alt, it transitions to a target sign and it's saying, hey, where do you want me to sample from? Where do you want me to sample the image that we're going to clone out? So let's say we wanted to cover this can up with grass. I'm going to hold down Alt and click somewhere in the grass where I want it to sample from, and then I let go of the Alt sign, and then if I wave over here and hold down my cursor, and I'm holding down my cursor, you can see that it's starting to cover up, and you see a plus sign where I sampled it from, and then you see the circle, the brush, that's where it's applying where the plus sign is. So, and I'm just holding it down. You can let go and then click on it again, and that's fine. And just keep on going like so. And let's say I wanted to, the thing is, you hold down Alt and you keep on sampling. You might have to do that over and over again. If I click, let's say right here, let go, sample, now I want to move this over here and sample. Hold down Alt, let's say I want to sample maybe this section right here to put it right here. Hold down Alt and let go, and then do that. Hold down Alt. So you have to keep on doing it over and over again, and you don't really want to make any patterns. If you see a consistent pattern, it's a dead giveaway that you use the clone stamp tool. So I'm just continuing to sample, and let's say something like that. Okay, and sample down here, hold down Alt, sample right there, let go, and then do something like that. So now we've cloned that out, and we can clone out the can too. Click maybe sample, say right here, and sample right here to get rid of that can. All right. Now we've cloned out that can, which is great, but the thing is we cloned it out on that particular layer, and so now we can't really go back. What I would recommend doing is, let me show you what I did on this one. What I did on this one is I used the layer palette right here to sample, and then I went on to a new layer right here and cloned it out. So if I click right here, you can see I have the cloned out, the before and after, which is in line with our non-destructive editing. So if I kind of click out, and I'm just going to open this up again to show you, and file, open and recent. Now if you wanted to do it in line with non-destructive editing, what you'd want to do is you want to create a new layer. You can double click and just hit cloned out cans and do the same thing, but you sample from this layer, you go to your clone stamp tool, you hold down Alt, and then instead of holding down the cursor and cloning it out here, you want to click on the new layer and clone it out, right? And just keep on doing that. If this is your first time using the clone stamp tool, it might be easier just to do it all on one layer, but once you get comfortable, you want to clone from the base layer and then add it, or sample it from the bottom layer and then add it to a new layer. That way I can continue to hold down Alt, target, go back to the blank layer and clone it out, go back, and I'm just going to do this kind of sloppy just for the sake of time, and there you go, and Alt. Alright, so now what I could do is if I ever wanted to go back and you're like, you know what, I did want all those cans after all, I could just take the eye on and off, and I haven't made any editing or any destructive edits to the original layer, which is nice. It's kind of a pain in the butt to do it this way, but this is the most efficient way to do it. And now in terms of the T, I want to click right here and zoom in. And this time I'm going to show you the spot healing brush. If you click right here and go to the spot healing brush, I'm going to make this a little bit big, maybe around 100 pixels, and I want the hardness to be, let's say, 50%, 40 to 50. It's personal preference for you. But remember, hardness at 100%, it's a hard line, it's a straight line, hard edge line. If it's at 0, it means it's like a funny or a fuzzy line, like a spray paint line, or edge, I should say. And what this does is this tool is very quick and efficient. You simply, and you have to actually be on the bottom layer for this one, but what you do is you just wave over the spot that you don't want and let go, and then it'll automatically try to fill in pixels that are similar to just outside your selected area. So you can see that it did that. It doesn't look that great. So there is, you're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm that's making this tool work. You can try resizing it and just do a little at a time, little at a time, little at a time. Maybe something for this big, it might not be that useful. Maybe for something smaller, but you can see by just clicking on it and getting rid of it, you don't have to sample. You're just simply covering it up like so, and that's a spot healing brush. This is really great, like if you're touching up a face or something like that with small little objects, to just kind of go over it. Like if I wanted to get rid of that, just go like that and then it's gone. But then it did that, so let me do that. You can just click and kind of clean things up. So that's the spot healing brush. I kind of go back and forth between using this and then also using the clone stamp tool. The healing brush right here is very similar to the spot healing brush, but it's kind of a hybrid between the clone stamp and the spot healing brush. With the healing brush like this, what you want to do is you need to sample a spot. You need to sample a spot and then let go and then wave it over, and then it'll try to fill it in automatically. Once you let go, it'll try to fill it in automatically with similar colored pixels as well. So you can play around with this healing brush too. Sometimes it looks really, really good. So now what we did, if you zoom out, you can see that we photoshopped that out. I'd probably do that again. It doesn't look that great. And the last thing what we want to do is we actually want to add a can. So I'm going to stay in line with the non-destructive editing theory, click a new layer, and I'm just going to rename it cloned can. and I'm going to click back on the base layer. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to click my clone stamp tool, and maybe I'll make the hardness maybe around 50 or 60, and maybe decrease the size just a little bit. And this is all personal preference. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm on the base layer, click right here on the can. I held down Alt, I sampled the can. Now I'm going to move over, and let's say I wanted to place it like right here. I'm going to hold down my cursor and just slowly but surely go over like so. And now I have planted a can. I'm going to do that one more time. I did it too much. And there you go. And now if you zoom out, I still had it on the bottom layer. I needed to click on the clone can layer and then do it. Now, third time's a charm, right? So I'm going to go over and do that. And voila. And then when you zoom out, you can see that not only we can take the can away if you want, right? Because the layers gives us options. You can add this. You can see what we did with the clone stamp tool, the spot healing brush, and the healing brush. It's a very powerful tool, very useful tool. It's really good stuff. The last thing I want to mention is you can change the opacity of the brush. Like right now we're at 100. If we change the opacity of the clone stamp tool to like 40 or 45, you can sample something. You can sample, let's say click Alt, and then I wanted to paste it right here. And then you can see that the opacity right here is at 44%. So when you're blending things, it's nice to have the option of changing the opacity of that brush, of the clone stamp brush.